Good evening, Internet. I am Tyler Randall. This is the firing line. So this is episode one, as you can see. It was our inaugural launch, and this is going to be. We're going to talk through what it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit of news. It's going to be a little bit of politics. We're going to, try to keep it on target. And right now, and I want to stay with me as always because I would just love to say that. But at least right now, with me is CJ Abernathy. Are you there, CJ?
Of course. What's up, Mr. Randall?
Always in spirit, at least I would say.
Yeah,
I like to
absolutely. In
say in my heart.
support, no doubt. Absolutely honored to be a part of the initial launch of the firing line, and the vision that you've got for it, and the political conversation. It'll be the sometimes neutral, sometimes it could be conflicting. And it could be it's like the firing line. A lot of stuff can happen.
Yeah, anything
And
can happen.
anything can happen on the firing line, and it's just another opportunity and another platform and another host like yourself willing to come out and facilitate a conversation that will hopefully have some longevity and be treated fairly in the podcast world if done right. And like I said, I'm happy to be a part of it, happy to see this launch off successfully. And when you called me and told me you have an idea for a podcast for yourself, I thought, yeah, no, I didn't have to hesitate. I mean, we talked about it. We thought, well, what would it take to make something interesting and not just same old same. And here we are, with a vision, and you have an idea on where you want to go with your political speak and your future moving forward as a broadcaster, and the developments you're going to go through. As any good podcaster will tell you, episode 1 is a lot different than episode 100, and episode 100 is a lot different than episode 1000, and etc. And so to be a part of this is pretty fun, man. I look forward to helping the audience get to know you, and you helping the audience get to know me in different lights, and talk about different issues, incorporate the audience that's watching into the conversation as well, creating an outlet. You and I are both veterans. I think that gives us a unique perspective in conversation with each other. And I just, like I said, I think that there's so much that we can do that's going to be beneficial and an outlet for some people, and for people to reach out to you and say, hey, like I heard you on your podcast. I'd like to come on, talk with you. I've met so many incredible people that I never would have got to talk to if I hadn't started broadcasting. And
That's the
so
goal, right? That's the
I've
goal, is to
been
bring people into a conversation, and I
right.
really want to take this in a direction where you have, I mean, more than most people I know, you have basically unfiltered and hard hitting conversations with people in private, as well as obviously on your streams every day. And I kind of want to bring those private conversations where people, they speak to each other differently than they do over the internet. Obviously,
Right.
even if you don't have anonymity, there's still kind of like a human disconnect where you don't, it doesn't feel like you're talking to a human, whether you're trying to like slam dunk and own them, or like get in a good joke. You know,
Slam
uh,
dunk, own, got him. Yeah, no,
well,
I
I'm
hear you
guilty.
there.
I'm out the gate. I'm gonna say it out loud. I am guilty of that in so many ways, and I think that's one of the chief motivations for me to reach out to you, was saying I'm tired of explaining my positions to people only to have them either dismiss them outright and not accept the premise, or because regardless if it's correct or not, and they just want to slam dunk and get internet points. And I'm like, no, I want to put it on the record, and I want to put it out there. I want to lay it down and say, no, 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 I need a cogent counter argument, or I need you to rationalize your position. You need to do one of two things. You can't just say, well, you're a Nazi, man. I'll tell you what, if I could be called a Nazi or a white supremacist and make money off of it, it that kid Nicholas Sandman just came out in the news today. He's getting like $250,000 from CNN and another $250,000 from Washington Post because he stood there and smiled while the Black Hebrew Israelites yelled at him and called him, white devil. And then, the Native American gentleman came and banged a drum in his face. And then all of the mainstream media came out and said, "Oh, he's wearing a MAGA hat. The kid must be, the next Grand Wizard." And if I could just get paid like that kid, because I get called a white supremacist way more than that guy does. and it's ridiculous, and it's all news speak. It's not because I hold any crazy point of view. You know what I mean? I'm not an extremist in any way. I'm not an identitarian in any way. I'm actually quite the opposite of that. So okay? I saw you make a face when I said the N word there. Like, what was your thoughts on that?
Well, what wait, what N word did you say that I
Oh,
missed?
oh, Nazi. Because I think sometimes YouTube they don't
Nazi.
like when you say the word.
Funny story on the Nazis. I'm of the mindset that I would prefer people identify themselves, in a way that if I go, oh, those are the Nazis, I can identify you by the flag you fly and the people that and the behaviors and the ideologies that you follow, and I can critique them, and I can see them from afar and a mile coming. And there's a reason the history of false flags, comes to mind when you think of identifications and things of that nature. You've asked a few questions that I haven't been able to touch on, and that I should
Mhm.
probably at least get to with that is I talk to people, and people do treat people differently. I would say on a live versus a not live conversation. I like to make it known when I'm live recording. For people's unless I'm like out in public and it's just like public area. But if I'm where people should be able to expect a decent level of privacy about particular matters, sensitive matters. I normally like to give people their dignity in confidential conversation. Of course, that's how you build trust, rapport. That's how people will come to you and know that if they tell you something that is privileged, essentially, that you'll keep your sources confidential without putting them at risk. I mean, there's many things that I do to talk to people. This morning I woke up to a phone call from an attorney regarding the protest tomorrow that I'm going to.
I would like to
And
talk about that too. Yes.
right, of course. And
It's
I spoke with Reb Ryder, of course, the other side of this conversation. And to be perfectly honest, man, both sides are saying the same thing. They don't want anybody to get hurt. And both sides are critiquing each other honestly and fairly. But both are saying they don't want any violence or any harm to happen to anybody. As I've said it this morning, nobody wants to have their uncle or their nephew killed tomorrow. I think
right.
that would be like a real dishonorable thing to do for both parties or all sides to have hate or animosities in that way. So what I've tried to do is facilitate and foster a conversation on the middle ground between
Mhm.
both parties to say, hey, you see me out there tomorrow. I'm the neutral guy in this. I will hear all sides out as long as they follow the non-aggression principle, as long as they will remain peaceful in their assembly. I'm not saying you got to be like, dull, and you can't be excited.
No, no. There's nothing
But
wrong with making noise.
we know the difference between peaceful protests, rallies, riots. We're
As they
not
famously
dumb.
said, yeah, they famously said in the Supreme Court, you know it when you see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, amen. And so, like, I talk to these people in confidence, knowing that I'm going to convey an honest message back. For example, I can say with confidence that George Floyd's uncle, Mr. Jones, he's not necessarily about the Black Lives Matter issue, and it's not necessarily about the flag. It's more about what unites us.
Mhm.
I have a full statement from his attorney. I'm privy to read it if you want to hear it directly from
If you don't mind,
him. Yeah.
because some people listening, we've had this conversation before. We've already kind of built up. But if you want to give a preface really quick and let people know that are watching or that will watch what we're talking about.
So tomorrow I'm going to a protest in Gettysburg, South Dakota, that involves the police. Oh, here, you know what? Tyler, if you don't mind, I
Oh
can
yeah,
just
give me an
yeah.
overlay, man.
So Gettysburg, South Dakota. We can go to the news, and we can go to, let's see when the last one was. Here's a day ago. No. Well, I'll just go to the one with the picture on it from the Argus Leader. This is one of them that got it started. I reported on it in on my broadcast in the morning, and it's this article here that says Gettysburg, or Pennsylvania weighs in on South Dakota's reckoning. Or wait, this isn't the one. Man, did I mess this up? Oh well.
Not at all.
I'll just
Don't
go
worry.
back. I'll just go back to Google and images here, and it's about this flag patch right here. Is it this one? Okay. Well, either way, it's the closest one to get the picture of. So this is the patch here that they're discussing, and it has really nothing to do with the actual patch itself. It's more the issues around it. The I mean, that's the Virginia battle flag, and that's the war flag of the United States. That's not
Yes.
the actual Confederate flag. That's just the Virginia war flag, and so it's it's people have mislabeled this, and you know some people call it the rebel flag. I mean, that's their prerogative. That's
I do think it's fair to say that symbols do change over time, and in certain aspects, right? So for years, all through when I was growing up, it was always meant. I knew that it was associated with the South in the Civil War. I did, and before I started actually like digging in and actually doing any research on it, but it was always a symbol of like rebellion, like, and it was honestly, it always came across to me as very innocent. Like you see a Pantera shirt, and it, because they're from Texas, and they have, they got the rebel flag in the background of one of their graphics, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, or Leonard Skinner, God forbid you wear a Leonard Skinner shirt nowadays, you might you might get kicked out of Walmart. But it's just it's so it. I think I'm just more disappointed than anything that we are actually having to have a conversation like this. Like I brought it up earlier before I think on one of your casts, or even in a private conversation, that on the patch, the cannon is actually facing the Virginia battle flag. It's actually pointed out as if, and so symbolically, it's, they're the ones being fired upon, being defeated, and I don't think it's giving reverence to it whatsoever. It's not even giving equal footing. One is higher than one is more elevated than the other in that way, and it's on a police uniform, and it has to do with, go back into the history, because you had
there's
spoke about it.
misunderstandings on this too. So when I first came into this story, I heard the difference. Like, well, this town was founded by Union and Confederate soldiers that homesteaded the area back when it was the Dakota Territory, and I mean. So this is what I was told. Again, I'm gonna go there tomorrow and find the people that are old, like ancient old, and be like, hey, what's the actual town's history? Like, did Lincoln ever come through South Dakota? I mean,
I don't know.
and so to me, I go, okay, well, it's not necessarily to me about this flag issue or which way the cannon's facing. To me, it's the deeper issue, and I stressed this a lot today. I said, you look at both of these flags, Tyler, and the one that's on I guess it's the one that's red, white, and blue with the stripes and the stars, and which one? Both of them are flags of war. Profiteering, the government creating a racket to kill people and prop up fiat currencies and control people, and you go. Well, I mean, more people have been killed under the red, white, and blue that we currently have as our flag. And so if you really want to be offended by a flag and symbolism, well, then I'm offended by the red, white, and blue. And God, you Republicans can, well, I mean, I'll let you identify politically as you want, but the Republicans will say, oh, you don't love our country. And, if you don't love it, leave it. And I go, nah, yeah, you can get out, CJ. And it's like, but I've been staring at this flag for a while, and I don't think it means what you guys keep telling me it means. I
would disagree there. I mean, it means whatever you think it means to you. Like you see it as a purely as well, especially the with the gold fringes and stuff that you brought up before, as a flag of war. The government oppression and things that I would disagree with all of those things. I mean, war is war, and we've always had it. Civilization has always had it. Now we've had a lot less of it in Western civilization. It just seems like relatively in the time that we live in, everybody wants to focus in on America. Like nothing evil ever happened or no atrocities were ever committed until America was founded. And that's a mainstream,
That's
that's a
not what
mainstream
I
position.
believe.
They're trying to rewrite history with things like the 1619 Project to say, well, America was founded when they brought slaves here. It's like, well, they dummies. You do realize that we were a bunch of colonies from France, Spain, and Britain, not America. So they're like, oh well, it's deep seated. It's really deep seated. It's like, well, how many slaves did they actually have? They try to say, oh well, you're just an apologist for slavery, and I'm like, no, I'm an advocate for history. Like there's still slaves in the Middle East today, right now. Nobody wants to talk about that. They want to talk about slavery that happened, chattel slavery that happened in America centuries ago, and they want to make a certain group of people feel bad about it and use it for political leverage. And that's just the bottom line. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. All it is about leveraging political power and climbing up that nasty political hill so that you can, like for example, you have George Floyd's uncle going to be at the protest that you're at tomorrow. And I'm saying this with all sincerity.
I don't know if he's gonna actually be there.
Oh, he's not gonna come. Okay, so he just made he's just made a statement.
No. I don't think he's actually gonna be there. If he does, I'd be surprised. But I did offer to meet up with him, and I would go to him if I needed to, just to meet him. So that's that. I mean, I offered that. I'm going to the sheriff's department courthouse where this is all gonna really come to a head right first thing in the morning. And then, from there, I'm gonna go to the park. But what I brought up here, Tyler, is the Department of Veterans Affairs numbers for deaths in war.
Okay.
And how many battle deaths and how many non-mortal woundings, i.e., Purple Hearts and things of that nature. More all the heroic stories of tales of injury and death that has plagued the United States since its founding. And, I look at this and I go, well, hey, man, I was in this last one here that's still ongoing. You see this?
Yeah.
It's still ongoing, man. And as
talk about it, if you want to talk about the foreign policy approach of how we handled that situation, I mean, there's critiques and blame to go all around, man. And it's really easy to throw mud. What's a lot harder to do is say, okay, how do we fix it? Where do we go from here?
I'm voting for Dr. Joe Jorgensen. That's how I'm fixing this.
Yeah. I think as of right now, I'm still going to vote for Donald Trump, barring anything that a certain lady in jail might have to reveal. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
yeah.
Well, before we get too far from the main point of Selwyn Jones's public statement for Gettysburg for tomorrow, I just wanted to, like I said, to point out this American death numbers here and go, this is all caused by government. And this is all people that have, in some way, shape, or form underneath the United States flag, had their life forever changed, and some of them never came back. Some of them came back permanently wounded. Some of them are killing themselves at the cyclic rate still to this day and week and month and year. And how we actually end it is by stop making them in the first place. On Adam versus
Sorry, go ahead.
On Adam versus the Man, we discuss how Poland back in, I believe, 1938 just undeclared martial law. And I think that if the President Cheeto Jesus, Captain Bonespurs himself, could just undeclare martial law today, I think that we'd be a more freer country if he just came forward and admitted that we are not a free nation. And we haven't been in mine, yours, or his lifetime. That is a fallacy in argument and fact. When we see the things in America,
like if you're talking about freedom just to do ridiculous things or irresponsible things, no. I mean,
no,
liberty
I'm not
comes
saying I'm not saying you're free to cause a victim. I'm not saying you're free to go out there and ruin somebody else's life, liberty, or pursuits of happiness. What I'm saying is that you can't use a government to enforce your way of life upon anybody. And that's essentially what we've created is I can govern my neighbor by voting.
That's not how that works. It's not your.
That
See,
is
that's. I
exactly
think that
how it works
connotation
in
is
today's
incorrect.
America,
It's not.
man.
I'm not governing you by voting. I'm voting a base. If I'm voting for something or against something that may or may not become a law. Like if we have a referendum, when we vote for politicians, when new laws are enacted, you go to your city council and they ask for people to come speak. You can go speak. You can get it on the docket. But nobody is interested in civics. They're only interested in complaining about the problem. I'm not saying this is you specifically. I'm just
Oh man,
saying
hold on. Let me just put up a problem here known as the United States of America from its founding. You know,
dude, what about that? Well, you're gonna need a bigger piece of paper because what about like all of the deaths from Marathon or any of the ancient wars in
and
Greece?
by the way, these are just U.S. deaths. This isn't our death and destruction of other countries and their
I'm pretty sure.
economy.
I think that all of Europe is pretty happy with the death and destruction of the Nazi Party and of Italy and the Axis powers that we visited upon them. I mean, we just had D-Day, and and people don't even remember. I think we're losing. I'm a very patriotic person, okay, and I know that you look at that and you go, maybe it's like some what do you say? What do you call it? The sky clock. Like I worship the sky clock. But I do think that there is a force for good that we as a country have better than it. I'm not saying we're the best. Well, I'm not saying we're morally like perfect. I'm just saying we're the best ones out there so far.
In the time that you said that, in the time that you said all that, the national debt raised $1 million, Tyler.
I'm sure it did. And if you don't pivot like that, I'm totally against the omnibus bill that Trump signed. That's one of the biggest things I would critique him on. I mean, ever since, when was the last time we had a president that didn't have that the debt was almost under control? But Clinton, and then we had the global war on terrorism, which made it explode, and it's just going to keep going up from there. Trump
under President Donald Trump currently and the current U.S. government, they have created a debt where the liability per U.S. citizen is $465,38 for every man, woman, and child in the United States, with a whopping. Again, this is in the time that we've just talked. That's how much our national debt is going up. So how do we stop it? We abolish it, Tyler. And that's what I'm advocating for, is abolishing the federal government.
I don't want to abolish. You can't not have government.
No. I said abolish the federal government, Tyler. Big difference.
Okay, just the federal government. I think
a measly 3 million jobs.
Why not?
Just a measly 3 million people. Excuse me. Just 3 million people conservatively that would lose their job overnight, and they would cease to exist, and most would be absorbed back into the states they came from. And we have 50 independent countries, and we have up to 536 sovereign territories. And any land that is held in federal trust be immediately returned to its rightful owners that had it before the creation of the federal government. I'm only advocating for the abolishment of the federal government, not the status, or not the former, the soon-to-be country of South Dakota, or the soon-to-be country of any other country out there. What's that?
I don't think that's a good idea. I think that we should hold the government to its limit. The way instead of having a
okay. I'm sorry, man.
I know. I can see the debt. I can see it going up.
As you speak,
man. A vast administrative state of unelected people that are not held to account, that are the people that we elect, point at them and say, oh, well, they have their own courts, they appoint their own people, and they make their own rules. So,
and they create their own fiat currency.
So all we have to do is just hold the government to its limit as it was intended when the Constitution was written. There's nothing.
I love it. So the powers under the Constitution will always be in the people. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes for a certain limited period to representatives of their own choosing, and whenever it is executed contrary to their interests or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. George Washington. I think back to some more profound words even that says, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among them the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature, and nature's got to title them, A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. And I can give you a million reasons why we should abolish the federal government.
He's not talking about he's not talking about destroying the federal government. He's talking about holding it to account and holding it to its limits.
I'm talking about abolishing it. When you just do what you're saying, this thing keeps going up, sir. I mean,
okay.
With all due respect.
But as you already said, those are just numbers, right? It's just a fiat currency. It's just numbers on a computer screen, right?
Yeah, that's my point. Is when we say how do we fix it? Well, I don't know if that can be fixed without just abolishing it. I mean,
no. When you said it when you were quoting George Washington a minute ago, you said that our servants who are our political leaders, right? Now they've played this awesome trick. They played this awesome trick where they've made themselves our elites. They call themselves our leaders. I even said it. I just subconsciously said our political leaders. They're our servants. They work at our pleasure. And for some reason, like I said, the biggest problem is people are not interested in civics. They don't care about what's going on in their local government. They don't care whenever something gets rezoned and they go, hey, that used to be a field. Why is it a shopping mall now? It's like, well, they put out signs and the city council said you can come and you can come to the hearing and you can make your voice heard, and the people don't. And then so you end up with another shopping mall instead of a field, or instead of something else, or instead of innumerable amount of things. You have a playground, anything. So people are not interested in their local government. And this is where it all has to start.
Wait. Are you saying if I go to my city council, I can go get a shopping mall put in Eureka, South Dakota?
Yes, you can. You can get there's rezoning signs all around here, around the national area.
And we wonder why this looks like this then, man.
That's how you start. That's exactly where you start. If we can't even tackle the big problems, and we can pontificate all we want, but that's not going to change anything unless we change things from the ground level. Now,
I'm not disagreeing with you there either, but I think
from the District 23 in South Dakota, correct?
I am running for Senate, yes.
So okay, it's going to start with you. You're the one that needs to lead the charge with your local city council in your district, all the city councils, the mayors, the people who are on the Parks and Rec board, and in your district, the things that matter most to those people, those are the things that you should be taking to the Senate. Now the problem is people not like you, and I hope that this is true. Well, they're going to go and all they give a rat's ass about is getting reelected. So from the time they get there to the time that it's time for reelection, all they're doing is putting their hand out for money, trying to get on committees, trying to back scratch and do deals for funding to get in with a PAC, and it's just ridiculous. And it's all in front of our face. It's in front of our face. Okay, so and I don't mean to. There you go. There you go.
I'm actually a libertarian. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Delegate from South Dakota. I'm a candidate, a delegate, a pledge club member. I got a basic package. You can give me a hug, just don't cough on me. I'm a mastermind, a troublemaker, a joker. I like none of the above a lot. And then I'm part of the Smokers Compass. Go Miss Harlow's. My ribbons are better than yours. My brain hurts, and I'm the big cheese. I'm a part of Ribbon Caucus. I like ribbons too. And my party, it's way better than your party. And my party doesn't have to defend pedophiles and rapists and statists.
I don't defend pedophiles or rapists. I don't give a shit what party they're in. I really don't.
That's what I respect about you, though. That's what I respect about you, though. If it came out tomorrow that some shit went down with your favorite Republican and Ghislaine Maxwell recorded some pretty kind of stuff, I bet you'd go, all right, CJ, you told me there's a way to change this color red to gold, man. I'm ready to come home to Mama Joe. I don't want to put myself into a camp. I did for so long. I was like, oh, okay, this is how we play the game. Okay, I'm Republican. And then when it comes, and then you get somebody like Donald Trump, and you're like, well, Dan, I don't want to be responsible for defending every single thing he's ever said or will say, just because. And that's another thing. People ask like, oh, are you a Trump supporter? And you're like, well, I voted for him. That doesn't mean I worship him. I voted for him. You know what? I'm a proud worshiper at the altar of Joe Jorgensen for president of the United States.
The word worship doesn't hold that much weight with you. I mean, how do you say it? Agnostic, atheist? What would you say?
Myself?
Yeah.
religiously, how I identify.
Yeah.
I would say
I just take the word worship pretty serious. That's why when people say it all comes down to worship, political worship, and
I worship at the altar of Mama Joe Jorgensen for president of the United States. Mama
that's
Joe can
fair,
do
man.
no wrong.
That's
But
fair.
no, I mean, I'm spiritual, of course. I have my
Okay.
religious beliefs. I don't really make that the center of my, world like a lot of people publicly. I make it very much privately the center of my world.
Okay.
I'm sure that my better half would tell you that she wishes I was more openly religious. I'm sure she would say that, although I can't quote her on that. But she'd like to see me be more active. Oh, okay. I can quote her. I'm sure she'd like to see that. But
You were talking about voting against your neighbor and things like that, right? So I just have an article pulled up here right now from the Daily Wire. It comes from California.
here, hold
Um,
on. Let's make sure you send it to me though.
oh
I
yeah, I gotta send you. Well, I can't
yeah.
send it to you because I can't log into my stupid Facebook account.
Oh man,
I wish I
can
could do it
you
overnight. I
share your
totally
screen or no?
I can't. It's on my laptop. But it's
Oh
just
dang.
and you don't need to read the whole article, but it's I already read through it, but the headline pretty much says it all. There is a church in Sun Valley, California, that is defying the lockdown order, as Gavin Newsom in California, the governor there, has indefinitely suspended religious services in private buildings that is owned by the church, and private citizens are not allowed to go in, and they're not allowed, and they're holding services regardless, saying no, this is incorrect. They were wrong about the virus. We want to get together and we want to worship. Who's to say? And I've heard a lot of arguments on the left and the right saying, well, no, maybe they should just stay home. Maybe they should just do it virtually. But I don't think that's. I think when you make concessions like that and you say, well, okay, I'll let you make me do this time. What's going to happen next time? You know what I'm saying? What do you say?
Okay, so 2 days ago, the churches sue California Governor Newsom over COVID-19 order banning in-home Bible studies.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness, I didn't even read that one. Holy
three
crap!
church three churches sue Newsom after bans singing in places of worship. Uh, three churches take state to federal court over ban on singing during service. So, I mean, if you asked me these things, this is where again it's the number one episode of the firing line, and I always go back to the Declaration of Independence and and governors who refuse their assents to law, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. Governor Newsom is forbidden to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he is utterly neglected to attend to them. I could read you no different than the government of every government that has ever been a government violates your rights. And so, does it surprise me? Of course not. Did they think that you're going to go, oh yeah, next week they're going to come up with COVID-20 and it's twice as worse as COVID-19 and get ready, buckle up. Here we go again. Everybody get indoors and put on your slave muzzles and shut up and don't go outside and God forbid that you have more of a chance of dying in your lifetime getting struck by lightning. Fear this virus. I mean, I go, man, none of this. Whenever there's crisis and martial laws have been declared across the country from states of emergency, the government always is the first to violate the rights of the people. So why continue to allow that to happen and instead just vote for somebody who's like, yeah, we're not going to do this to you guys anymore? And Donald Trump has no problem killing American citizens. Donald Trump has no problem. Donald Trump
Okay,
has no problem.
okay. How do you figure? How do you figure?
He doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't give a fuck about me. He
It's
doesn't give a fuck
okay,
about
it's very easy to
anybody
say
but Donald J. Trump.
Okay, let's keep it straight here. It's easy to say that, but how are
Oh,
you going to
yeah.
justify? How are you going to justify saying like, well, they just don't give a shit, so who cares? I mean,
They
you
don't.
have to. You got to. Yeah. Okay. Who is they? When you
The
say they don't care about
Republicans
you,
that support Trump till his death.
they're
The Trump
supporting him because he's the leader of their party and he's
Yeah,
up for re-election. They're
yeah,
not. It's
terrible
not. It's not.
human being, and you're picking a shitty person to be the leader of your party. Like, there's better people that can
I
represent
agree
humanity
with better
a
people.
lot better
I
than
think
Donald
better
J.
people.
Trump.
You're a better person. I'm a better person. but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about who you say he doesn't care about. He's going to kill people. He doesn't care about killing
He
people.
already
Americans.
has killed people. He's already killed people. His actions have already been to kill people or to instigate the things we see happening in America today. He is the
Like what? Like the riots? He
3.5
instigated
years. 3 years into your presidency, Donald J. Trump, and this is your bitch now. This is your beast. This is your problem. You take
the most
responsibility.
federalist president
It
we've ever
wasn't
had.
Tyler and it wasn't me.
The most federalist president we've had in my lifetime, and in many people's lifetimes, who has said, "Hey, states, control your people. Hey, mayors, send your police," and he doesn't intervene until they're trying
Think
to
about the
bring down
words you're
courthouses.
saying. Think about the
I'm
words
serious.
you're saying. Think
I'm
about the
serious.
words you're saying, man.
What am I
Hey,
saying?
governor. Hey, governors. Hey, people. Control. Government, control your people.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
No,
okay.
man.
Yeah, I did say that. And you know why? Because
America,
we have to live under law and
America.
order. You have. How do you think the non-aggression principle is enacted? Who keeps it in place? Just
individual.
people. Okay, so the individual. Now, are people inherently good or evil by nature?
I'm going to say that you can be inherently good or inherently bad.
People are inherently evil by nature.
And I don't agree with you there.
To err is human. We are born in sin.
I'm not saying people aren't fallible or infallible. Excuse me.
Exactly. So if given the chance, people are always evil unless they decide to be good.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that either.
You don't? Okay. Well, how so?
I think there's just good people on this planet, and they do good things. And they do good deeds. And I think I disagree. I think there are people that are inherently born good in this world.
Okay, no. I'm not saying that there aren't good people that aren't born. I mean, it's easy to say somebody's born good.
Inherent,
because they want to be good.
Yeah,
because you have to try to be good. It's like, okay, instead of saying people born evil, let's put it on a scale of order and chaos. Okay, you have to choose to make order because nature is chaos. Okay, so in our nature, we are chaotic. We are chaotic beings, and in order to control ourselves, you have to be regimented. You have to take stock and responsibility. Okay, so in order to have the non-aggression principle, be executed, there has to be a line. There has to be a limiting principle. Okay, that you can enforce. It has to be. I'm gonna stumble over this word. Retributive. There has to be retribution for somebody that breaks it. Correct.
Again, if there's a victim, there's a crime.
That would be justice. So what we're talking about is police. So we can say it in a different way, but you still need to have. There's always going to be a form of police and a form of government. Now you want to tear it all down. We can build it back up. That's fine.
Fundamentally disagree with you on this one, man.
But how? How are you going to enforce the non-aggression principle if one person says, "F that"? They say, you know what? That sounds all well and good, but all you goody two shoes, I'm gonna go steal. Oh, I'm gonna go murder, or I'm gonna go rape, and you ain't gonna do nothing about it because you can't infringe on my rights. What are you gonna do? Kill me? What are you gonna do? Lock me up and take away my liberty? How dare you? Right? That's why you need police. That's why we need a criminal justice system. Now, if you want to talk about how terrible it is and how many problems there are with it, that's
wait, hold on. No, listen, as a producer, I go, listen, man, I want you to tell me how terrible it is, and I want you to tell me this is why we need it, and then give me a long list of how shitty it is, and then I want to reverse that, and I want you now to say how shitty it is now, and then look at me honestly and say this is why we need this.
But we do need it.
No, we don't.
Fundamentally, you have to.
Disagree with you respectfully.
I mean, we already seen what happens when police don't come to people's houses when the mob comes.
Yeah, because when police are needed, they're only minutes. When seconds are needed, or when seconds matter, police are only minutes away. Yeah. So yeah, we need those, and we need those. We need those same police. I've interviewed many police officers, and I've talked to many police officers, and I've got some I respect. I've got some I think they did some shady stuff and did some things that they talked to me about. And they're like, I regret it, CJ. I really did. And, and like, And I go, you know what, man? Like, at least you're talking about it, and we can identify that you believed what your behavior was while a law enforcement officer, a police officer, was inherently wrong. And but thanks for sharing, man. And you know, the thing is that you don't need it. What you're giving that responsibility of your freedom to basically the government, saying, I don't really deserve freedom. I don't deserve my autonomy. I don't deserve my ownership of me, and so I consent at some point to your governance of you telling me how to live and telling me what I got to do. It's basically a giant HOA that everyone bitches about, but then it's like, but it keeps the house value up, and you're just like, you know, at some point it's like, no. I fundamentally disagree with. I believe in localization of government. I'm not saying abolish my state government. I'm not saying abolish my constitutional sheriff. I'm just saying abolish the bureaucracy of 3 million useless fucking idiots and all the cottage industries that have popped up around it overnight, and you would watch it dissolve, and you would immediately have 50 sovereign states that can go, hey, now that we took that first step together, we can all become our own independent state. I don't have to worry about what Texas is doing. I don't have to worry about what Minnesota is doing, although I might conduct commerce with them. I might have trade negotiations. I might have trade negotiations, and you know, state governments immediately own what they own. Native tribes would absorb immediately every bit of federal land. It'd be one step we could all take together at one time that just says we had a cancer. Like, I compared it to with a buddy of mine today. Like, he was arguing for the statist argument of we need a federal government. And I said, listen, it's like having a cancer, a tumor, and you and me are two white blood cells next to each other going, well, how the fuck do we get rid of this cancer there, Tyler? And you're like, I don't know, but we should keep it. We should keep it. I mean, I don't know. It's pressing on the right part of the brain that just makes us talk cool for a little bit. And then eventually we die from it. And it's sad and tragic. But, you know, we're two white blood cells in the body of this government trying to look at a tumor and say, you think we should just let it grow and keep ignoring it and just I mean, it's noble to look at it and go, well, you know, maybe if the cancer just became benign, you know, and it was just like a tumor that was just like might cause a blood clot someday later, you know, I don't know. But
in your metaphor, the government is 100%. Is 100% bad. It's, you know, the connotation.
It's the cancer. Yes, it's the cancer. Yes, it's the cancer.
Government. There's nothing wrong with government. It's how you use it.
Government. I'm not saying abolish government. I'm saying vote for Dr. Joe Jorgensen to treat this cancer that the two-party duopoly has created. I mean, that's basically what I'm saying. I'm saying if you want a world set free in your lifetime, vote for the libertarian candidate for president of the United States and stop voting for the two-party slave system. By the way, neither care of either if you or I died tomorrow, Tyler. I promise you. Like, we would just be an insignificant two white blood cells that tried to at least talk about the cancer cell or the cancer.
Why I gotta be white? Why I gotta be white? That's messed up, dude.
Well, I mean, that's the antibodies in everyone's blood.
I'm a little tan. I got some sun, bro.
If there's somebody that's offended by my color of the white blood cells in my body fighting the cancerous tumor, I mean, I can't help you there, man. But
those cells are inherently supremacist. Yeah, you can't deny it.
I'm underneath the lights. I don't have a soda or nothing. I feel like I need something to drink though. Hold on one second.
Yeah, no problem at all. So, in summation of the rant that we just kind of went back and forth on, I completely understand where CJ's coming from. I just don't. We both, obviously, we've said it many times. We just don't agree with the way that we want to go about it. But we technically want basically the same thing. We both want to have a limited government, or a smaller government, localized government, and that's what I was advocating for the entire time. I think people should be more civically involved in their local communities. You know, they should know who's on their PTA. They should know who's in their city council. And if you get feel the need to, run. I mean, my mother happens to be running in my hometown of Devine, Texas. She's running for a city
Yeah,
council
run as
spot.
a libertarian though. We're a way cooler party. We got way better candidates.
I don't think they have parties like that for a city council. You just either get elected or you don't. And
Yeah, but
so they
if
have
you're a libertarian and you're running for office, let your libertarian party in your state know, because there's ways that we can help your campaigns. Especially if you live in South Dakota, I can help you out, get you connected. I mean, I promise you, running for politics is a. I got into the mindset of, well, I can keep complaining about it, Tyler, or I can actually go and do something about
it. Exactly.
And so, I look at it like, okay, well, whether or not I fundamentally agree with you on things, am I willing to sit down, have a conversation with you, and work out both sides of an issue? I mean, I'm notorious for playing devil's advocate. I'm notorious for being somebody that will, give you that kindness, courtesy, dignity, and respect that I hope that you would show other people. And I try to help good people. Am I saying I'm perfect? Fuck no, man. Like, come on, like, really?
I'm nipping at your. I admit, I'm nipping at your ankles on purpose because I'm trying to lead you down a certain. I'm trying to get. I'm
trying to lead you, man. Like, come to the gold side of the conversation. It's.
What would you say? Okay, what would you think? What do you think the appropriate response to the people that are trying to burn down federal courthouses and destroying private property and totally decimating entire economies because they want to set up an autonomous zone or they want to fight, white supremacy that is imaginary? What would you say? Oh, well, please read it to me.
Oh, absolutely. I will read it to you. What I would say to those people that are doing these things. Okay, I would simply say, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among them the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, which requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. And then what happens after that sentence is a long history from the American Revolution of dead United States citizens in an epic battle against a thing called government. And so when you ask me, like, hey man, let's get rid of this thing, resolved that the preceding constitution be laid before the United States in Congress assembled, and that it is the opinion of this convention that it should afterwards be submitted to a convention of delegates chosen in each state by the people, therefore under the recommendation of its legislature for their assent and ratification, and that each convention assenting to read the convention Monday, September 17th, 1787. I mean, honestly, it was written and said by President George Washington and W. Jackson as the signed secretary. Beautiful words. So when you tell me they're burning down the federal buildings of a federal government that has killed more people than coronavirus times a trillion,
kill them. People that volunteered or were drafted in that time. It's not the government didn't kill them.
It is the government that killed them. Yes, it is. It is their governments at their time. It is 100%.
So let's set that up.
Killed them, man.
Because what you said earlier is that they're going to dissolve the political bands and let them call out their causes, right? Well, what is the cause that they're calling out for? Now, it's not just federal buildings; it's people's livelihoods, people's houses. As we see, they're trying to go and find the mayor's house over there in St. Louis.
Yeah, because that mayor has probably violated the Constitution and is most likely a domestic enemy of the Constitution, man.
Well, no, that's not what she did. Because anytime that you have like a snitch line and somebody calls it, that's a public record. And when she said a couple of people's names, like, well, this person called and snitched them out. It's a matter of public record. It's like if somebody went and looked up your arrest record. It's the exact same thing. So is that prudent? No, I don't think that she should have done that at all. I'm not agreeing with her. But first of all, in the St. Louis case, the McCloskeys, you couldn't even get to the mayor's house by the way they were walking. They saw big houses, They saw Iron Gate, they saw rich people, and they're Marxist, so they want to eat the rich. That's their causes that they're calling out are inherently collectivist, and we all know how collectivism. And see, I'm more of I think of it in terms of philosophy, and not necessarily just policy, right? So what's the philosophy behind walking in a mob, knocking down a private fence, and then clacking together magazines in front of somebody and saying, "Man, we're gonna come after you next. We're gonna get you next. We're gonna kill your dog." So, if you didn't have that AR-15, man, you wouldn't be so big, would you?
And then they lost their gun rights, right?
And then they took their guns away.
And here's Tyler. Here's why they took their gun rights away.
Oh, tell me.
About it, Mr. President. Gun violence restraining orders. They're called. California actually has a version of this, and I think in your meeting with governors earlier this week, individually and as a group, we spoke about states taking steps. But the focus is to literally give families and give local law enforcement additional tools if an individual is reported to be a potential danger to themselves or others. And allow due process, so no one's rights are trampled, but the ability to go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession
Or
of that
might
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times, by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process.
Oh man, I completely disagree with that. And and by the way, the context for that is we were talking about bump stocks, right? Which is completely ridiculous. It's a completely ridiculous accessory, right? But you should have the right to have it. I disagree completely with the ban.
So congratulations, you won't be welcome to any Trump Circle events. You won't be able to speak to any other Republicans. This show will now be labeled as anti-Trump.
I don't go to I'm not anti-Trump. I just don't go. I don't go to the Church of Trump. We don't put on our Trump, Trump robe.
Mr. Randall, have I ever called you a Trumpophile? Have I ever called you a Trumplican? Have I ever called you a storm Trumper? No. No. No, but okay, so let me ask you this. As somebody who has said, there could be a better person or a president than Trump, are you saying as a Republican then? Are you saying there's better Republicans out in that field that could be a better president than Donald J. Trump?
Better Republicans?
Yeah.
That I can think of off the top of my head?
Yeah.
Maybe Dan Crenshaw. Maybe Ted Cruz. Definitely not Marco Rubio.
Okay, so all right, let's call it now on episode 1. Let's call it now on episode 1. Who is the candidate after Trump?
Well, I think they're already trying to juice in Donald Jr. or Ivanka.
I'll tell you what the crazy lunatics here in Meth Dakota are all saying. Yeah, that Kristi Noem should run for president. And God, man, I could give you a laundry list of reasons why that's stupid.
I mean, it all comes down to philosophy for me. Like, if we looking at policies, I say philosophically, does this jive with what I believe and what I know? And I think a lot of people say, and you know what, I'm not pivoting here. I'm having this thought. A lot of people say, I feel, right? I feel, instead of saying I believe or I think, it's almost like a cop out. So you can say, well, that's how I feel. So therefore it can be valid if you accept it, but also if you don't accept it or if it's incorrect, then I can just reject it and say, well, that's just how I feel. That's not exact. So I think we need to bring that back. First of all, if you have a candidate that can say, I think, and I believe, I'm behind that all the time. Now you just played a clip there where Trump said, I believe we should take the guns first. Completely disagree. 100%. And I think he might have even backed off of that. Has he backed off of that since then? I'm sure you follow more than I do. Because I haven't seen any red flag. I haven't seen any red flags going on around here.
I think that the party put a stop to that more than Donald Trump.
I bet they did. But they put him in a room and said, "Hey, you can't say crap like that on national TV."
Yeah, hey, you made us all look fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And now every libertarian across the country is going to play it on again these Republican broadcasts and say, hey, you know, don't you think that we?
Since we're on the topic, I'm in a lot of libertarian groups. Okay, just mostly because I'm monitoring like what the culture is, what people are thinking, what people are saying, how they interact with each other. And the arguments are hilarious because nobody hates libertarians worse than libertarians. I'll tell you that. But
Nobody loves libertarians more than libertarians too, though.
that's true too. But there's a big push right now to try to out anybody that might be a Republican and like get these people out of our
and I agree with this one. Hey, listen, my fellow libertarians, that is 100% something you should be doing in every social circle we have.
No, why not convert them?
No, it's not about converting. At this point, you are not going to get the extreme bootlicking Trump supporter that would choke Donald Trump off on a Thursday and then want to record it and get an attaboy later. No, you get rid of the people that are not libertarian and the ones that are not mentioning our great candidates like Jo Jorgensen. One thing I respect about you, Mr. Randall, is that you've said, and you're ahead of the game on most Republicans by saying, let Jo Jorgensen debate. And I respect that position. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce the audience of the firing line to Joe, if you don't mind.
No, please go ahead.
So yeah, this is Dr. Jo Jorgensen, Libertarian candidate, and Spike Cohen, Vice Presidential candidate.
Yeah, give us full screen. Here we go.
And you know what I appreciate about you, Mr. Randall? You even let me play that introduction, knowing that you this is your fledgling, your baby, your broadcast. I think that should go to anybody to that you might want to talk to moving forward, and even if you are a Trump supporter, voter this time or not, or a libertarian leaning person, you're fair enough to at least acknowledge a conversation. Most in your party won't.
I would say truthfully, I'm probably I'm probably like one bad press conference away from voting for Mama Joe. Truthfully, if we have another omnibus go through, you know what? I don't even, man. I'll tell you what. I'm so upset with so many things that Trump has done, but I do enjoy a lot of the things that he did do. I mean, he did create a very good atmosphere economically for people to thrive. And I would say, isn't that a good first step? Is that not a good first step? When people are all doing better, we can all move forward. We can all move up a little bit. You know what I mean? Make that pie a little bit bigger. You know what I'm saying?
No, again, I don't think the answer is more government, though. And I don't, and that's all we get. Listen, Republicans, if you're a Republican, you're just a socialist that hasn't accepted you're a socialist. If you're a Democrat, you're a socialist that has accepted your socialism and you're proud of it. And so, I think that we're about to see a shift fundamentally between Republicans that are your classical Republican abandoning ship to the Libertarian Party, which and you'll see your classical Democrat abandon ship to the Libertarian Party respectively. And just so you know, the day that you decide to switch your side to gold and come home to Mama Joe, we'll be ready for you. We'll be able to say, hey man, we welcome you with open arms. If you want to just be a voter and a supporter of a candidate, find out who your local candidate is. I mean, you live where again, sir?
Right outside Nashville, Tennessee. Right outside Nashville. Right outside Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah.
Right out of right out. So Tennessee. So I promise you, the Libertarian Party of Tennessee and me, we have a interesting history already, and
Oh,
and
really?
so, yeah, you just some convention fun talk, some just with the people there.
This is the thing that I have. I think that it would be a good thing for people to start jumping ship because honestly, the Democrats and Republicans, they're not losing any votes in the
Listen,
middle.
man,
They're not losing
I-
any votes in the moderate.
you're preaching to my choir, man. You're
So
preaching
we
to
have
my
people going farther to the polls on either side, especially in an election year in this cycle. So you have the left going farther left and the right technically going farther right too. But the problem is and I think I was listening to Ben Shapiro say something to this effect. It kind of rung in my head. I'm like, okay, that's why. Is that there seems to be an air of illegitimacy with the party because of how I'm not dogging on it, but of how I don't want to say undignified, but it seems like unorganized, less
No,
organized.
I will assure you, the Libertarian Party is the most organized party there is. We are the most professional, the most transparent. We will argue for 8 hours about credentialing. We will argue about processes, and our secretary, who is awesome, Miss Harlos. Let me cover my address just for the sake of this. She sent me a postcard saying thank you for all you do for liberty, and it comes with a Robert's Rules of Order to motion to adjourn, to recess, to raise a question of privilege, whether it's an interrupting motion. It's and so I will have we are the most professional party, and if the Republicans and Democrats had to interact just one day in the way our party conducts party business, you wouldn't question that we're the most organized party. You'd say, God, they'll argue about the nature of one word, but you know what? They love freedom. They love individual freedoms and rights, and believe in all your freedoms all the time. So when you join the party, you don't go, oh man, I feel so, like I'm a new Trump supporter here. Listen, man, I voted for Barack Obama. I voted for Donald Trump. I was of the mindset that it doesn't matter how I vote. My race is like picking a racehorse in a race that you have no actual, your vote doesn't decide the election. And instead I decided to go to a party that literally acts as if we are about to sign the Declaration of Independence from this tyrannical form of two-party duopoly government bullshit at any moment. And listen, man, I will tell you this: there were people in the colonies at the American Revolution that fought on the side of the British, that joined the British Army. And that is no different. Just like there were the redcoats of 1775, there are the blue coats of 2020. And I promise you, I mean that in the form of federal law enforcement and a federal military that's abandoned the Constitution, and allowed martial law to be declared on its shores, and its leaders to violate constitutional rights of every citizen.
Okay, to be fair, in the instance that you're talking, and I think that the example that you're giving, those people were committing felonies, not exercising their liberty.
All our founding fathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, you name them, all our founding fathers were all felons to the British. All of them.
Okay, but we're not ruled by the British, or nor are we in danger of being ruled by the British again. And when they set down,
this is a conspiratorial broadcast because we can go into the Federal Reserve and central banking system.
I'm just saying, in the documents that you've read from, they put forward a system by which that people could live their lives by the non-aggression principle, of what you call it. But you just have to have there needs to be an incentive to do so. And the incentive is, I don't want to lose my liberty. So as long as
I don't want to lose my freedom.
Yeah, I don't either. So I don't commit felonies.
No. This is again where we're going to fundamentally disagree, because your government tells you what a felony is, even though it makes no fucking sense. There's just 6 months ago in some states it was a felony if you wear a mask in public, and now today in that same state on that same street corner you could be arrested on a felony for wearing one. Now it's a felony if you don't wear one. So this is a government.
So we can change it. Now I disagree with that, but that means we can change them, right? The government doesn't tell us; we tell them.
No,
and that's why we need to get rid of all the civics. I'm telling you, I don't want to go down that hole again. I know exactly where we're both going to end up, and we're both going to say the same thing. But
my solution is let's just get rid of it respectfully. I mean, honestly, that's my opinion. You're of the mindset, let's keep voting for Trump until the next good Republican comes along.
That would be nice, right? I just want to conserve. I want to conserve certain aspects of our government. That doesn't necessarily mean I want more of it. When you say I'm a
I
conservative,
don't think you want more of it. I'm just saying the guy you're voting for wants more of it. Now, do you want me to throw up the national clock again? Because I mean, it still keeps going. He doesn't just call up and say, "Hey, stop the clock."
No, I do fundamentally. I'm not saying I fundamentally disagree, and I dismiss your premises out of hand. What I'm saying is I think that we're both looking at it from a slightly different point of view, and there is a middle ground to keeping our government. And mine is law and order. I am a staunch supporter of.
All right, I'm running for government. What do you say that you live in my district, and I believe I have the right to say that anyone that wears the shirt you're wearing is committing a felony?
Then I would rebut that, sir.
Well, I already can tell you we wrote it into law. You've just committed a felony, and now we have the right to kill you extrajudiciously, and our cops have immunity.
I wouldn't give you a reason to kill me because
no, just wearing that shirt. That's offensive to us. So we have a rule where we just shoot you on site.
You take it to a district court, Supreme Court, and you make your case.
No. We've already made the law to shoot you all on site. We identify that shirt as
that's not the law of domestic
terrorist. We identify that shirt as a symbol of domestic terrorism.
Right? Because the luau's coming. You know what I'm saying?
Well, now your podcast is going to be censored on every platform. Congratulations, sir. You're breaking all the walls you shouldn't on your very first episode.
What's wrong with saying I like poi. I like pineapples. What's wrong with that?
Right. So now we have a right to extrajudiciously murder anyone that looks like you, and you can take it
down in the streets. That's the problem. That's the problem with that. That argument.
There was a missed audio there. You kind of cut out.
Oh, okay. I'm saying people aren't getting extrajudicially murdered in the street.
I'm going to meet George Floyd's uncle, who I didn't yet get to his word.
So that officer did not face any kind of consequence or justice for what he did. Didn't he?
No.
Not only was he arrested, but he was fired. You know how hard it is to fire a police officer? In 3 days, not only would he lose his job, but he was charged.
If they didn't, how many days did it take them to arrest those cops?
3. Well, I think they were fired first, and then they were charged in 3 days. You know how hard it is to charge a cop for something like that? It was just blown out of proportion by the media. That guy, did George Floyd deserve to die? No. Nobody is making that, has made, or is making that case. Maybe some crazy idiot is making that case. Everybody was on George Floyd's side, and those officers were receiving justice. The problem is they decided, let's just burn, let's burn a Wendy's. Let's burn this. Let's burn that. Let's loot this. Let's loot that. For the system working, the system in that case worked. So their examples are always wrong. You look at Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot, based on a lie, 100%. But they take that vanguard and they keep pushing it.
When you say they, who do you mean?
I mean the organization of Black Lives Matter.
Okay, and so. Before your first broadcast is over here, we're at 1 hour and 10 minutes on first one, man. I don't know how late you want to go. I mean, it's your show, but I mean, we can
come to a wrapping up point here in a minute. But what were you going to ask? Go ahead.
I would. Well, you said I was going to read Selwyn Jones's words before tomorrow.
I'm glad you came around.
And these are, and I think this will speak to some of these things you're saying. So I hope you'll respond. Since it's your show here to these words. We live in dark times that call for unity of our proud community, state, and country. I believe that good that defines Gettysburg, South Dakota, and America unifies us against the evils of racism. I reject those that would bring trouble to our beautiful and happy town. However, I embrace the opportunity to teach my neighbors about my nephew, George Floyd, specifically, and the experiences of African Americans generally. When I was contacted by a reporter asking me to comment on how I felt about the Confederate flag being included in symbolism used by my hometown, I simply answered honestly, the flag is something that I am sure will change now with all the things going on in the world. Why am I sure? Because I'm sure because the people of Gettysburg, of South Dakota, of America are good people that will do the right thing. I am sure because I know my neighbors will listen in order to understand the history of hurt that African Americans and other people of color have experienced. There is too much to share with my neighbors in this short message, but I will endeavor to seek your help in bringing the change that unites us all. To address this specific issue of the flag, I am imagine if Gettysburg had instead been settled after World War II and named Normandy. Would we be having a debate over whether a town's logo would include the Nazi flag? Of course not. The Nazi flag would be offensive to our veterans who fought and died in defense of the liberty of our country and our state. The same is true of the feeling of African Americans towards the Confederate flag. The argument for displaying the Confederate flag fall apart when we apply to a hypocritical display of Hitler's broken cross. I am sure that the flag issue in Gettysburg will be resolved because the killing of my nephew George Floyd is offensive to all lovers of freedom. As South Dakotans, we know that human life has value. Life is the most important right protected by our Constitution because without it, no other rights exist. George Floyd is not just my nephew, he represents all our children. This is the message that unites us in the dark times. There is a flag in Gettysburg that conveys who we are as a community, and it is not the Confederate flag.
All right, there is good rhetoric in there, okay, and it's true. I mean, he's trying to use an emotion to leverage his point of view, and to be fair, I don't have any malice towards him for holding this opinion. I really don't. The problem is that his implication, before he even cited the Nazi flag, which I knew that's where he was going to go with it, but he already made the implication that the flag is inherently and explicitly wrong and morally so. And that's why he went with the Nazi of comparison, which it falls on its face. Once you start doing that, it's not the same thing at all. The Nazi flag is in no way comparable to the Confederate flag. The Confederates were rebels who wanted to break away from the United States, and their economy had chattel slavery as a main component of it. So
well, this government still has that, by the way, Mr. Randall.
What? The chattel slavery?
Yeah, we're all slaves. Yes, because taxation is theft. Yes.
No, taxation is I will say that yes, we pay too much damn taxes, and that we
no. I'm saying taxation is theft.
Okay, well then, how are you going to fund your government?
We're going to abolish it.
See, it's easy to say things like that though, because I'm not, and this is not me, and I don't mean any disrespect, but I feel like that's a little bit of a cop out because it's really easy to fall back on that and say, well, we should just abolish that. It's like, well,
no, it's the answer that I always come to at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, so Floyd's uncle's statement is flawed in that he's already made up his mind, and he's saying it as if it is just accepted that the Virginia battle flag is a symbol of evil and hate. And it's like, well, what if? And he compares it just flat out compares it to the Nazi flag. And it's like, I hope that we can. It's dark times. It's like, okay, man, is it really dark times? Are we really in the darkest of timelines right now, where it's a dystopian future? Is it? I mean, you're nodding your head, yes. So, I mean, it's a flag on a patch that refers to a battle that this town is named after, and it has no. This is
the actual Confederate flag.
Nobody cared about it 5 minutes ago. That's the Confederate flag.
Correct. And this is one designed for the second national flag. This is the first flag with 7 stars, one with 9, 11, 13. then there was I think it'll get to the battle flag.
Does it say anywhere in there about them being explicitly evil and we need to, there's nothing, there's no rhetoric in there about the flag of the Confederacy that's comparable to the Nazis at all. There's no rhetoric that's comparable to the Nazis whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, this was the battle flag used by the Army of the Trans-Mississippi. I mean, really, pick which one you want to be offended by, but this is the second. The flag they're getting mad at is actually the Second Confederate Navy Jack. This is why it's kind of stupid to me that the research that's being done in this is an opinion of, oh, that's a Confederate flag. It's one of. In fact, it's the Second Confederate flag Navy Jack that you're getting mad at. You're not getting mad at the Confederate flag because it's not the Confederate flag. It's the Second Confederate Navy Jack, and this is why they're.
Do we get rid of it on the patches and then just rename the town because one person who probably doesn't even live there is offended by it? I'm telling you, this is coming from outside the town. This is an organic grassroots movement within your town. Nobody gave a shit 5 minutes ago whether or not what was on the policeman's patch. Okay, what that didn't enter their minds at all. So
I motion to suspend the rules to change the town patch of Gettysburg, South Dakota, to that where it removes the battle flag of the United States war machine and the Second Confederate Navy Jack between 1863 and 1865. And then, that to me, that would to me, well, again, remove them both. And again, both flags are have their tattered history, but at least identify it properly, man. Like, I know that wasn't the actual Confederate flag. I think most people would know it's not. I don't think most would tell you they knew it was the Second Confederate Navy Jack for the Navy of the Confederacy. How many people knew that there was a Navy for the Confederacy to begin with?
Well, there was. They had ships. They had as a matter of fact, there's a dude who was I'm losing his name. It's lost to me, but I remember the story. He's a runaway slave. He joined the Union Army, and then he snuck aboard one of the Confederate ships and sank it. It's a really cool story. You gotta look that up.
Yeah, now, it sounds like a cool one, but the thing is like the flag that you see isn't the battle flag of the 1st Cavalry Corps. It's not. Like I said, we can sit here all day and go, well, flags offend me. Symbolism. Here's the controversy. This is the battle flag of Tennessee. This is why I think the controversy of it is the battle flag of Tennessee. It could also be the Navy Jack as well. It's the second, similar to the Navy Jack.
Very similar, yeah.
So maybe it is the battle flag for the Army of the Tennessee, and not what I mean. You tell me what you saw on the patch there, because it certainly wasn't the Confederate flag as the mainstream media is putting it out there. And so I go, well, hey man, maybe it was just that the Tennessee Army went all the way to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh well, there's quite a few Civil War sites down here. We had the Battle of Nashville and the Battle of Franklin, and you can still walk on those lands and walk around, and they have it's open to the public. It's free to walk around. You can read about how the battle played out and when the Union broke the left there in Franklin. It's awe. I sit there in awe when I'm reading it and I'm looking out on the field and I can see it and the hedgehogs are still out there, and it really kind of brings it to life and say, wow, they fought over this small piece of land, and it was still and over there by the Lotes house. It was in someone's front yard. They had the Battle of Franklin and almost completely destroyed their house. Like it's amazing. It's amazing.
And just for the record, the common denominator in that story are two different governments warring with each other. If we just got rid of two different governments, then we wouldn't have people's lawns would be left alone.
Yeah, because one side said they wanted to be free from the other oppressive government, right? Is that right?
Like they stated
they wanted to dissolve their political ban.
Yeah, like
and call out their cause, which they did, but they lost. Okay, and they did. They were outmaneuvered at the end.
Did they just regroup, or they just head south and regroup until the South
I wonder
again?
Is it like Hydra situation? Are we agents of Hydra?
I don't know.
Confederacy?
Apparently, the Nazis are in the moon. In Antarctica,
There's lots of raptors in the moon.
program that Trump's all about it at the moon base Mar-a-Lago.
And I think they're turning the frogs gay. I think I heard that. I think that the waters.
I was gonna try to get they're turning a frogs gay out on the first episode for sure. You were one conspiracy away from getting it for me there, but man, I'll tell you what though, I do hope that more people will reach out to you, man, and people will join the firing line, and we'll have.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, reach out to the Reverend here, and tell him you'd like to join the firing line. I'll be on with him on Saturdays. If I'm gonna help him launch this into the stratosphere with episode 2. I think this is a good one for today. Load and make ready. I mean, hey, I'll tell you, I've seen the numbers kind of tune in. So thank you for everybody that tuned in for this. I'm gonna let you close the show the way you want, man. And I think we've covered a lot for the first week. I look forward to telling you about what happens tomorrow, next Saturday.
Yes, sir. Totally.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, it's your show, so I'll just tell everybody have a good night or don't. Choice is always yours. CJ Abernathy for District 23 Senate. I'll be out in Gettysburg tomorrow. Hopefully, you guys will show up. Thanks for having me on your show, Tyler, and letting me co-host with you here. And I look forward to seeing where episode 100 is at.
Hell yeah, brother.
Wait, before I go, one last thing, sir. Who do you want to interview between now and episode 100 that is the most famous person that you think that you could get on this broadcast?
Ooh, the most famous person I think I could get on this broadcast.
You have 100 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Who could be the most famous? Predict it now, because I'd like to see you get to that level.
I think I would like to interview Ted Cruz.
So you would say if by episode 100 you're interviewing Ted Cruz?
Yeah, he's always on Crowder show, and I think that I don't agree with everything that Steven Crowder believes, but I mean, he definitely is a podcast type of guy. He has his own podcast. It's the number one podcast in the country. I've heard. Congratulations to him. Yeah, of course. But I really like Michael Knowles. That's why I listen. I'm a big Michael Knowles
fan. Would you interview a Steven Crowder if he came on the firing line?
Oh, heck yeah, definitely. And I think I would try to hold him to account for some of the things that I disagree with him on.
Well, I just for the record, you have held me account to everything I've said. You've challenged me. You've been fair. I hope that. Yes. And I hope that I've tried to hear your point, and I would encourage, like I said, anybody to reach out to Tyler and to have a conversation. He's got little cool things where we can change it if he switches to a libertarian and I'm a Republican, or I'm an independent and he's a libertarian, or I'm an independent, he's a Republican. Or maybe I go to vote Joe Biden. I think there's an awesome thing that you have to be able to set up here to have these conversations that are inviting of all different backgrounds and beliefs, and to say, hey, I'll hear anybody out. It's a podcast, and you want to make it entertaining, but at the same time, it's yours to develop and to. I mean, if you were like, hey, CJ, I'm going to interview so and so next week. I mean, I want to listen. You're gonna, because it's going to be a great conversation. I think people will like this kind of format. And by the way, I was the guy in control today of the screen. I can't imagine what happens when you're like, all right, CJ, my turn. Here's what's on the screen today. Like, all right, boom, news article. All right, boom, this. Like, I can't wait for you to develop your broadcasting skill. And I'll tell you what, man, you can hold a conversation. You don't need me to help you every single broadcast. I'm saying pretty soon we're going to be having the firing line page. Yep. Hopefully a website, a .tv, a .com.
Underwear. We're gonna sell underwear.
We got underwear and mugs and hats. Dude, we got all this stuff prepared, and so just to let everybody know before you get off, where they'll be able to meet. Obviously, like I said, look for the firing line on Facebook. I'm sure you're gonna want to create a YouTube channel, and we're gonna develop this out more into a better production as well for you to to control with you know, and really, man, like I think being, like I said, veteran yourself, you can have people relate and come on to discuss those issues that, you know, a lot of veterans don't want to talk about, and you know, or to, you know, at least feel free enough to speak their true mind about it without having to hold it back. You know, if, you know, if we ever got into the military conversations about war and all this and deployments, and you know, I think the one thing we can agree on is that war is hell. Shit is going to happen that's out of your control, and at least being able to talk about it in a free and open way is beneficial to a veteran community. I can't begin to tell you how many people are veterans that I say, you should be doing something like this. You should be giving yourself a purpose and a drive and a goal, and to set the standard and the bar the way you believe it should be, and then go out and try to accomplish it. I mean, I've interviewed some of the most incredible people in the world, man. I've been to places that you can't imagine because of phone calls from people saying, CJ, I want to talk to you, man. And, you know, what do you think about coming down this way, or going to this thing, or doing this, or, and so really just treat it for what it is, man. This is your first adventure into it. Episode 1, you get to episode 1,000 and you're going to go, man, episode 1 was fun, but man, wait till you see where we go. And it's, like I said, you got all the potential in the world, Mr. Randall. I'm just grateful that you asked me to be a part of it. And like I said, we'll get it to where you're able to control the command center, and I'll be more of a guest, of course. And
don't take my training wheels away just yet. Now, okay, all right.
What's that?
I said, don't take my training wheels away just yet, okay?
Yeah, no. I mean, like I said, we're not just gonna throw you into the sharks, but I, like I said, I really do believe you have a perspective that should be preserved in conversation, that's a voice for people that'll articulate it well, man. I mean, I'll defend libertarian principles whenever I talk to a statist any day of the week, man. And I have got a buddy of mine who's like, hey, I believe we should have a federal government. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to put you into contact with the guy that says we shouldn't have a federal government. And I'll be the guy in the middle ground going, click, click. Okay, record. Let's do this. All right, the most epic conversation being had right now. And the firing line is going to be one of those. I think I see it in 100 episodes, not just somebody like Ted Cruz, but you know, maybe you'll be getting more political figures that are interested in coming on and talking with you. But the biggest thing is consistency. You just got to be consistent, and you got to be opening and welcoming to hearing new ideas and opposing opinions, because when you put your opinion on the internet, it's there forever. So, but Randall, I do got to get going. 1.5 hours for our first conversation. We thought an hour. So, I mean,
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to sign off. You, sir, close our show, and we'll see you next time.
See you, CJ. Thanks again to CJ Abernathy for helping me put this together. He's an outstanding producer and a good friend. And it started with a phone call. And I think to close this out, I would say that episode 1 in the books. I think that we have a good idea of where CJ and I both stand on things. We've got the foundation laid, and then we're gonna go from there, move forward, and see what other things we can explore. Whether it be politics, whether it be news of the day, whether it be military, whether it be government, or whether it be just morals in general. You know, what's the moral fiber? What's the good policy? What's the good what's good in life, right? What's the good thing? Let's talk about good news sometimes too. I don't want to just be doom and gloom over here. And I think I just want to carve out a little bit of peace of the internet for myself, because you know what? Why not? All right, everybody have a good night. I'm going to have myself a good night. I know I will, and I know CJ will. So my name is Tyler Randall. This is The Firing Line. Keep your sights down range and send it.